So, you want to be a dungeon master.
So you want to be a dungeon master.
So you want to be a dungeon.
So you want to be a dungeon master.
So, you want to be a dungeon master.
That's great. We're here to help. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Justin. This week, we're gearing up. We're strapping in. We're buckling down. Because it's another round of D&D horror stories, courtesy of Reddit. This time, we'll get some from players, some from DMs, all of them from absolute goobers. Just kidding. Taylor and I are going to discuss each situation, how it makes us feel, and what we would have done differently or the same in those scenarios. And remember, we'd love to hear your D&D stories, horror or otherwise. So shoot us over an email at soyouwannabeadm@gmail.com or join our Discord. Links in the description. So let's suit up and jump right into this dumpster fire. But first...
Mm-hmm.
Did you say instead of normal? Mm-hmm. That threw me off.
Yeah, I did. I
was going to be my first.
Didn't mean to throw off the groove.
Totally fine. We're moving past it.
And we're getting through it.
This one is not so much a question as much as a creativity exercise.
Okay.
Combine extreme sports and D&D. Go.
Oh, Jesus. What qualifies like extreme sport? Like, are we talking like X Games?
It's your own interpretation.
Sure. Okay. Geez. A fantasy downhill, like, there's the I'm thinking of like the mountain biking.
Oh, yes,
competitions.
Yes.
Yeah, like just an extreme version of that with like magic and stuff. Almost, it turns into almost an elitist situation.
Yeah,
where it's just super OP assholes riding bikes next to each other and trying to fuck each other up.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds sick.
Yeah,
because there's so many cool things you could do with the mechanics of D&D, whether it's just like an owl bear pops out and like crosses the path or something insane. You know what I mean? Like, I love that idea. So fun to think of ideas of how your characters can use their abilities to assist in this. Because the last thing you want to do with any of, like, you know, whether it's mountain biking or like surfing or X Games or, I don't know, motocross or some shit, the last thing you want is for it to just be a long series of making the same type of check over and over and over again.
Right.
That's fine for like short things. Like I've done that for like an arm wrestling competition or pie eating where it's just constitution checks over and over. However, you gotta add a lot for that to not get boring. If it's a quick arm wrestling competition, it's just like best out of 3, then that's fine. But if you're doing like a whole hour, 2 hours of mountain biking in your game, then it's just having it be like an acrobatics or perception over and over and over is a little annoying, a little boring, but there's so much you could add to it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It could be so cool.
I'm just thinking of like using like wall of stone to make like a ramp or something.
Fuck yeah. It'd be sick.
Yeah. I also love the idea of conjuring stuff, like conjuring pixies to polymorph people.
Yeah. Hell yeah. So many cool ideas. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
There's so many interesting things. Cast haste on yourself. Now you're just twice as fast, or casting slow on the other competitors, and like them also casting things on the players. So many cool ideas. Yeah, there's a ton of extreme sports that are specifically like races, just the vehicle changes, obviously, that you could have a ton of fun with. The one that I'm going to bring up is really specific. And that's strictly because I watched a documentary. It was a singular episode of a series of documentaries. They were all about like interesting sports around the world that are very specific to certain locations and cultures.
Yeah.
And in Italy, there is a borderline ancient sport. It's been going on for hundreds of years.
What you're talking about.
And it's called Calcio Storica. And it is boxing meets rugby meets soccer.
Yeah.
It's fucking nuts. Couldn't recommend it enough. It is insane. There is a ball. You got to get the ball in the goal, but you're allowed a fist fight.
Yeah.
You're allowed to bring people to the ground. You're allowed to grapple, wrestle. It is MMA meets rugby. It is so intense. And I mean, you can use it as inspiration, but like I would just, even like Vice Sports, you can just Google rugby boxing Italy and it'll come up.
Mm-hmm.
And watch a 2-minute video on YouTube of this sport, and it's nuts how intense it gets. They only have a game, like when they do the mini little tournament of this, it's like once every couple years.
Yeah.
Because it's so physically taxing.
Like every city has their
major
city in Italy has their own team, and it's all super, super competitive.
And it's die hard. It's like, oh, you're from that province. Because I think it's even like, I want to say that it's, I could be misremembering, but I want to say that it's like really specifically to like Florence, Italy. And so it's like neighborhoods as opposed to like major cities. Like, I don't know if Rome has their own team, but same idea.
No, yeah.
But it is so die hard. It is the being a New England Patriots fan and then like finding a significant other who likes the Giants or something, where you're just like, what? Never. And so it's so intense. Like, even there are people who like, they grew up in one neighborhood, they're the green team, whatever, and then they move and it's like chaos. Like, it's so cool. It's so interesting. Even the celebrations, the history of the sport, just a fun thing to learn about. And then to put it into a D&D game, I mean, is pretty easy because the sport is so fucking physical. There's so much combat in the sport.
Yeah.
So you don't have to add a ton, but I think that would be really, really fun. Another, I would consider this an extreme sport. People die doing this. Would be free diving. I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah.
It's really specific. Yeah, I'm just thinking outside the box. But
no, I was thinking about that too. I was just thinking about like what's keeping somebody from just, or you're talking about like diving off of like a high cliff into water?
No. I'm talking about going as deep as you possibly can with one breath.
Oh.
Yeah, like when you're following the line and you can't go up too fast, otherwise you get the bends and people pass out. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen those clips of people coming to the top of a free dive and they're like literally in the process of passing out. And it's like so scary and so intense.
No, that stuff, that really scares me in general. Like
it's hardcore.
It makes me so uncomfortable to watch stuff like that.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everyone.
Because I already have like, it's wild because I live near the beach, so I grew up surfing, but I also have this really deep fear of sea creatures.
I vibe with that. Yeah,
sharks and freaking. I've seen like not here, but like went like snorkeling down in Florida and stuff like that, and like seeing like barracudas and shit, and it's like, that's terrifying.
Yeah,
that's absolutely. I saw a barracuda and I was in the boat in less than 10 seconds. I was like, oh okay, boom, right out of the water.
Yeah, I'm done.
Immediately out of the water.
I'm salmon jumping out of that water. Hands at my side. We just talked about that in the last episode.
Well, the will of the sockeye.
Yes. And yeah, no, I also agree. The idea of open water, there's a lot of aspects of the ocean that are very, very, very scary.
Right.
Like, I don't even want to swim with dolphins. They're too big.
I don't mind dolphins. Yeah.
I don't like a sea creature that's that big. No, thank you. Like,
fair.
As cool as I think manta rays are, I don't want to fucking see one. If it's not in an aquarium, no thank you.
No, the quote unquote gentle ones, because I know dolphins can get absolutely freaking brutal. But those ones don't worry me so much. It's the ones with all the freaking sharp pointy teeth that literally are just, nature found a really perfect predator and it hasn't changed in millions of years.
Yeah.
Those things, they scare me.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah, no, my
fear
is
crocodiles and sharks and all of those type of creatures that are like, oh, hey, yeah, we found fossil records. These things have been the same for like forever.
Yeah, older than
because
trees.
It's a perfect creature. Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking bonkers, dude. Yeah, no, my fear expands past that because it includes all of those things and then also like a whale. Just too big.
Fair. Yeah.
I don't even want to go whale watching. If it's not like from a pier, I don't want to go on a boat. And whale watch, the whales are bigger than the boat. Fuck that.
Right.
I've seen people get beaten, pull a full biblical Jonah. I'm not playing those games. No, thank you. So those are some funny ideas. Love to put those into practice. Hey gang, we wanted to talk to you about something pretty important real quick. See, we have some really cool ideas for the future, but we need your help. You can do that by supporting us through our Patreon. At the lowest tier, you get early access to podcast episodes, access to episodes of Action Surge, our post-session table talk show, and entry into a private channel on our Discord server. At the next tier, you can get access to Bonus Action, our bonus content podcast where we talk about a huge variety of D&D and TTRPG related things, like Multi-Class Mystery Mashup, where we get 2 random classes and have to build a character, or Monster Matchmaker, where we go over our favorite monsters at each CR level, or recaps of our home campaign, plus so much more. Joining the Patreon helps us continue to grow and put out content that gets better and better as we learn, improve, and try new things. So, check out the link in the description to join the gang today. Let's jump right in. Some of these are silly, some of them are wild. There were a lot that I found along the way that were so egregious and insane that I almost didn't even feel comfortable talking about them, where it was just like a lot of trigger warning stuff that I was like, whoa, that doesn't feel like there's any
actual literal horror stories.
Yeah. Some of them are so uncomfortable and weird. And some are like straight up like, you're not only a bad D&D player or DM or whatever, but you're like a bad person. I don't respect you as a human. Like some of them were that bad where it was like, oh, I actually don't like you as a human. I think you're bad. Whereas some of them are like, oh, you just made a dumb D&D mistake. You know what I mean? So hopefully this there's a little bit of different styles here. Do you want to roll a d20 and see who reads our first prompt here?
Let's do it.
10. Average.
8.
Oh boy. I feel like I beat you in most of these.
I think you do too.
It's so weird. It's really specific.
Unless we're doing bonus actions. I think I win a lot of the bonus action ones.
That could be true. Okay. So our first D&D horror story. All of these come from the subreddit D&D horror stories. This first one is from a player. The title is DM makes his NPC unkillable.
Okay. Already not. I am just the title. I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing, but let's hear it.
Yeah, it depends on the context, right? Okay. So OP writes, context. Our campaign is basically fantasy, steampunk, Star Wars.
Jesus.
That's
a lot.
Sounds dope.
Sounds
cool.
dope. Yeah.
We've been playing this D&D campaign for about 3 months, and our DM decided at the beginning that eventually we would have to kill his merchant character. Well, tonight we tried, and as we rolled initiative, he told us the character used 3 wish spells to be immune to all damage, immune to all conditions, and to make all the PCs unconscious.
Oh, no.
We managed to counterspell the wish that made us unconscious, but then some PCs used their turns to attack and were told they couldn't damage him. About 20 minutes later, we figured out a solution to beat him. However, anytime we find a solution to a problem he doesn't like, he tells us that things that completely negate our solutions until we stumble into how he wants us to do it. I.e., we tried to sneak around, use invisibility spells and disguises to get a hold of an item we need, and he panicked and said that doesn't work because all the guards have true sight goggles and they can see you.
Oh.
I've brought this to the group's attention. I know, right? I've brought this to the group's attention, and I've said something in private to him about how it's frustrating, and it feels like when kids will play and suddenly start saying things like, I have laser vision. Well, I have a shield that blocks lasers. Well, my lasers go through your shield. Nuh-uh. After our conversations, it feels as though nobody has listened to a thing I've said because he keeps doing it, and nobody bats an eye. How are we feeling?
I don't like this retroactive adding stuff to players or to NPCs.
Or like encounters, yeah.
Yeah. Like that bit, I don't like it. I don't like it because a huge portion of the fun of D&D is coming up with these off the wall solutions to crazy problems. Like,
agreed.
I think you're in doing that. We've said it a million times. Just write a book, dude. Just go write a book.
Yeah.
If you want it done exactly how you want it done, go write a book.
This is the example of railroading done dirty.
Right.
Exactly. You are railroading your players into only having one possible solution that you like, which is crazy because there's just so many mechanics in D&D. You just cannot possibly anticipate all of the different ways to go about a certain encounter. And when you start having to panic and you're giving all the guards true sight goggles, like that's nuts. In a magic item that had true sight where you just wear the goggles and now you have true sight, we're talking about an item that in the game conservatively would probably cost 10 to 15,000 gold, and every guard has one. Bullshit. Just from a logistical standpoint, like that's bullshit. But also, how is this NPC casting 3 wish spells? Because it's a 9th level spell. Are you using scrolls? Because I think that's the only way that you would be able to do it otherwise. Because you obviously can't cast, unless also you have an NPC who can cast 3 9th level spells. So there's just like so much wrong with this.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, just like rules standpoint, not even like
breaking
vibes.
Yeah, you're just breaking rules at that point to make it so that this NPC that apparently you've already primed the party to kill this person. Mm-hmm. And then when they go to do the thing that you want them to do, you say, "Nuh-uh, actually, it doesn't work." I mean, that's wild.
Absolutely ridiculous. I also want to bring to everyone's attention a really specific little part of the wish spell. Now, this is specific to 2014 because at the time that this was being written, I don't think that they were using 2024. You know what I mean?
Right.
Although this was only posted 4 days ago, so maybe they are, but I think this part is kind of the same. So it says at the end of the wish spell, again, I'm reading 2014, but it says, the stress of casting wish to produce any effect other than duplicating another spell weakens you. After enduring that stress, each time you cast a spell until you finish a long rest, you take 1d10 necrotic damage per level of that spell. Mm-hmm. This damage cannot be reduced or prevented in any way. In addition, your strength score becomes 3 for 2d4 days. For each of those days that you spend resting and doing nothing more than light activity, your remaining recovery time decreases by 2 days. Finally, there is a 33% chance that you are unable to cast the wish ever again if you suffer this stress. This is a DM
That's crazy.
who, and I've done this, but you have to be so careful about how you do this. This is a DM who is hand waving rules loose and fast.
And
for their NPCs, and then sticking strict to rules for the players.
Right, exactly. And not being fair with it across the board is really what it comes down to, is basically just stacking the game for themselves only.
Yeah. In a way that feels very antagonistic. It feels very combative. It's very DM versus the players. Right. Because when I've done that in the past, like an example would be Trinculo in Sphinx City. Mm-hmm. Like the guy, they just reach into their drawer, pull out a bunch of rubies, rub them together in between their hands. They become dust. Boom, cast Simulacrum. But that's just, it's a funny joke. Doesn't help the players, doesn't hurt the players. It's just a funny little thing of being like, this Trinculo person's actually really fucking strong. And here's a funny example is that they're going to waste this Simulacrum spell just to have a friend to talk to who looks like them. And maybe
talk to, quote
unquote, talk to. They're going to have some long conversations. But it's always in good fun. It's an NPC who's helpful to the party, not hurtful to the party. It's like, I mean, your players are going to outsmart you sometimes. You just got to eat it.
I'd argue a lot.
A lot of times.
I'd argue a lot of times.
And you just have to eat it sometimes. You know?
Yeah.
You just got to pack it in and be like, hey, you got me.
You got me.
Because as the DM,
sons of bitches.
If I really wanted to, anytime it's like, oh, DM versus the player, ha ha ha. It's like, listen, if the DM really wants to, the DM could kill the entire party in a second, no matter what level they are or how powerful their characters are. Because the DM is creating the entire fucking universe.
Mm-hmm.
So at any point, I can be like, the gods come into the material plane, they smite you, you're dead.
Yeah.
So it's like,
there's always a bigger fish.
Yeah.
Like, and always something bigger.
So it's just silly. It just seems silly to me. Some of the comments here, a lot of people are like, if you talk to him and he doesn't change anything, then I would say leave the game. Some people are saying the classic thing of no D&D is better than bad D&D. A lot of people are like, I wouldn't play with that person.
Yeah. I think, like I said, write a book.
Yeah, honestly,
write a book. If you want to railroad that hard, you don't want players playing your game. You just want to tell your story only, and that's not D&D.
Yeah, you're just twisting a ton of things, and it's like, why your immunity to all damage? What are you doing?
Come on.
And you know what's crazy? The wish spell can't even fucking do that. It says right here, resistance. You grant up to 10 creatures that you can see resistance to 1 damage type.
Right.
The resistance is permanent. Because even if we make the assumption that he was casting these wish spells over time, and so the the strength and the stress thing didn't affect him, still you're even pushing that spell past what it can do. The wish spell can't literally do anything. You're just using it as blanket cover.
Yeah, that's not how that spell works.
Yeah, just silly, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think speaking to the OP, like, you've done what you could. You've talked to them. You've talked to the players. You've talked to the DM. You've expressed your feelings. If they're not going to change or rectify anything, then you know what's up. So now it's on you. Yeah. Are you willing to put up with this or not? And if it's genuinely making you dread the game and not be excited for more sessions and stuff, then I think you have your answer.
Right.
You got to cut tail.
It might be time to move on to another better and brighter pastures.
Yeah, you got to skedaddle. Got to get out of there. That's our first one.
Yeah, all right.
Unkillable NPC.
So number 2 here. We'll get the headline going. Me being a special mini boss ruined by DM's ruling on spiritual weapon being quote unquote heat seeking.
I chose this one because you often cast spiritual weapon. So I was like, oh, this is interesting.
I do.
But I didn't read the rest of the post. Fair. I just saw the title.
Okay.
I was like, oh, cool.
All right. I'm not sure what they mean by heat seeking, but I guess let's find out. So this was a year or so ago, so forgive me if I can't recall exactly how all this went down. For context, I've been on and off D&D 5.
They mean 5e.
D&D 5e, mostly because of time and work-related issues. I get it. However, I've had this neat opportunity to play against a new party my old friend is DMing for as sort of a mini boss. Basically having my wizard/warlock teleport the party to an arena and fighting them with the help of summoned elementals. That's fun. It's a great way to loop in people who can't always play all the time and be there for every session. But I mean, I know I've done this in your campaigns, or at least one of your campaigns, of popping in for an episode of like a session and just being, a little rascal.
A stinker.
Yeah, just being a little stinker.
Yeah,
I like
but
that.
But because you're a guest character, it works out. We don't have to worry about PvP getting too intense because God forbid the party killed your character. It's like, hey, this was your last session anyway.
Right.
If you want to join us again, just make a new character. It's fine. So yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah. All right. So my plan was to have invisibility. Don't know if this was greater invisibility or not, and pepper the party with spells and other shenanigans while the elementals rush them and cause havoc. It would have to be greater invisibility to do what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'd have to be greater invisibility.
Otherwise, you're breaking it immediately.
Right. Exactly. So at least that was the plan. Unfortunately, before it was my turn, the cleric decided to summon his spiritual weapon and have it attack me. I turned invisible, thinking that I'd get a safe spot to bide my time, but the DM decided that since spiritual weapon was attacking me in the previous turn, I would be locked on and keep getting hit even though the cleric couldn't see me. This turned from something that should have been an awesome experience between me and the players into a one-sided battle with little stakes, all that because of that stupid ruling. You can imagine it got heated between me and the DM, but I don't have anything against the cleric. He was just doing his cleric shit. Anyway, that's something I need to get on, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so spiritual weapon doesn't work like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the easiest.
The spiritual weapon doesn't work like that. Also, invisibility doesn't work like that. So I feel like there's a little bit of a give and a take here. Yeah, it's very odd. I don't know. Like spiritual weapon, no. Spirit guardians, yes, because that's an aura thing. It's an AoE thing. But spiritual weapon it's still a spell attack. It's not a, oh, okay, so this spiritual thing has its own like volition. It's not acting out on its own. You still have to direct it as the cleric, as a bonus action. You have to tell it what to do.
Yeah, it's mindless.
See the thing.
It's not a thing. It doesn't do
right.
Heat seeking. That's so fucking stupid.
Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, I'm not liking any of this. I'm not liking any of this.
Yeah,
because
I think it's a slippery
depending
slope.
on how long they've been playing, the cleric should know this.
Yeah.
Also, I'm throwing a little shade on the cleric here. It really boils down to the dungeon master making a wild call.
Yeah.
But at the very least, it should be at disadvantage. And also, if you're invisible and you move away from that spiritual weapon, the weapon's not going to know where you're at. And even if you kind of guess at where it's supposed to be, it's still going to be a disadvantaged attack.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing, is that you have to roll to hit. And with invisible, it's only disadvantage. That's the most you get from an invisibility condition. Right.
But I don't know. I'm really not crazy about this. I think OP did the right thing as far as like, I feel like the invisible shenanigans, obviously you've got to go with greater invisibility. There's no other way around that. You're going to have to use greater invisibility to do these shenanigans. But I do like the shenanigans involved.
I do also like them. It does feel a little bit like sometimes people overestimate how powerful invisibility is.
Yeah.
As a condition, I mean. Just because of the way that D&D is mechanically set up. Like, there's so many other things that invisibility does. Like, sometimes you still do need to take the hide action, even though you're invisible. Like, you can do it anywhere because you don't need to be behind cover anymore because you're just invisible. Right. But technically, it depends on how strict you want to get with the rules. You didn't take the hide action. So, and obviously, we're getting this one side of the story, right? We don't know. You said, summon the spiritual weapon to have it attack me. I turned invisibility, thinking I get to a safe spot. I'm assuming you moved.
Right.
You turned invisible and then you moved. Now, then it gets into this whole thing of like, that's why the hide action I think is important, because then the invisibility comes into play. Invisibility gives you advantage on stealth checks. Mm-hmm. It does not give people disadvantage on perception checks, right? So then it comes down to other players either using AoE spells to hit the person, maybe helping them drop concentration on greater invisibility.
Yeah.
Not to mention, you could have players be willing to burn their action doing perception checks to find where you are, because invisibility obviously is only a sight thing. You're still making noises. You still smell, right? Like, you can still bump into somebody.
Still leaving footprints. Still can bump into them.
Yeah, so there's so much going on still.
Yeah. And part of this is, a shortcoming of just the tabletop like maps in general, because as players, you generally can see this other player's token of where they're at while they're invisible.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hard as a player to not metagame that.
Yeah. Especially when you're coming in with a strategy.
Right.
Like,
yeah. And it's, I don't know.
It's interesting. I think that this is one of those where, like, if this was am I the asshole kind of questions, I think this is one of those where I would say everybody is, including OP.
Say both. Yeah, both. All parties involved
than the DM,
are.
The spiritual weapon ruling is so wild. that it annoys me. The idea that it's just like, no, it's locked onto you now. It's like, it absolutely isn't. What the fuck are you talking about? It absolutely is not. Do you think we're talking about spiritual guardians?
Right.
But one commenter, and I think this is a decent point, says it sounds like you were trying to troll the players with an untouchable meme build, and the DM prevented it. If you were a mini boss, you were supposed to lose. It seems like you failed to understand that and thought you were going to just get to TBK the DM's players for funsies. And I kind of do get that vibe a little bit of this person being like, I have this really crazy idea and I'm going to use this insane thing. And it's like, bro, you're supposed to lose. You're the mini boss.
Yeah.
It's good that you lose. Like, that's the point. I can understand it felt low stakes and it felt like a one-sided battle. I get that. Mm-hmm. That's not even your problem, though. You're a guest NPC for one session.
Right.
Don't even worry about it, bro. That's not up to you. So.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree. I think all parties share a bit of the blame. I think trying to do what you were trying to do, or what the OP is trying to do with invisibility or greater invisibility or whatever, it is kind of trolling a bit, but there's ways around it.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit Guardians, spiritual weapons, not the way around it at all. Spiritual weapons, not the way to do it. No, there's a million other cleric spells that you could use that would do that.
Yeah.
Would do what you're
Spiritual weapon
do.
is actually one of the worst spells to make that argument that it would work this way. Because number one, it doesn't get opportunity attacks or help with flanking, even if you use flanking as a home rule, because it's not an object, it's not a creature. And then
it doesn't just
it can't get targeted
to do stuff.
Like you can't unless you're playing fucking Baldur's Gate. I don't know why it's an interesting choice by Larian. But like
that drives me wild.
It does drive me wild.
It makes cleric unplayable.
But the other thing is, spiritual weapons can only move 20 feet.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and assume that the mini boss has at least 30 feet of movement. Mm-hmm. As soon as the first time you move away from the spiritual weapon, it assuming you keep moving,
it can't reach
you. It never hits you ever again.
Right.
Like, yeah, everybody got things wrong in this one. I do think that the OP missed the assignment a little bit. And I do think the DM made a weird choice trying to save face because their friend, who they invited to be the mini boss, got a little hammy, and was like, I'm going to do this insane thing that I saw in one of those videos of like, here's a build that's going to ruin your DM's life. Like, ugh.
Right.
Every time I see a TikTok video that's like, here's how you can get 12 actions in one turn. It's just like, get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that drives me nuts.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're in agreement. I think everybody in this story shares a little bit of blame here.
I agree. I totally agree. Let's move on.
All right, let's do it.
This next one is titled, It Was All an Illusion. Whoa. This...
I think I remember this coming across my feed on Reddit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I've heard this one, but okay. It was all an illusion. OP writes, this took place a few years ago, and I don't know if the DM meant for that session to go the way it did, but it basically ended the campaign on the spot. Important characters.
Jeez.
DM, myself, the fighter, and rogue. Our party received a tip that an important town had been overrun by undead. Of course, we went to investigate and saw the tip was seemingly true. We enter the town and start trying to sneak our way past large numbers of undead. Only our rogue rolled decent, so of course we were spotted and initiative was rolled. The very first group of undead we fight has 3 Bodaks, a couple of ghasts, and a few zombies for good measure. Not great for us, but winnable if we play smart and use our surroundings to our advantage. Yeah, Bodaks are rough. They're a relatively low CR. They're like a CR. This is Justin talking, not the OP for people listening. But Bodaks are like, I want to say a CR4. But they have one of those abilities where, like, anytime you look at the Bodak, you have to make a con save. And if you fail, 0 hit points. You're right at 0. So you have to constantly be averting your eyes. It's one of those things, like a Gorgon or Medusa or something like that. You have to constantly be like, well, are you looking at the thing? Okay. All disadvantage attacks and da-da-da-da. And then the one time you choose to look at it, especially if it surprises you, then you have to make this con save and you could just hit 0 hit points immediately.
Right.
So they're really intense in that way. Continuing, OP writes, not great for us, but winnable if we play smart and use our surroundings to our advantage. Me and Rogue immediately duck into a nearby hut. 15 by 15 on the inside. I specify before stepping into the hut that I want to look inside to check if anything is in there. DM says, I don't see anything. The interior is dark and my character has dark vision. This will become important in a second. My fighter was melee focused, but my character discerned the undead had some dangerous abilities if they got close. So he wasn't about to let himself get surrounded and destroyed by those ghasts and bodak. The party is struggling to put down these bulky undead, and we finally start making some headway. When out of nowhere, the DM says that there is now a Nightwalker in the hut with me and Rogue. A Nightwalker?
Okay.
You mean a CR20 creature that destroys your soul when it kills you? Yeah. Apparently, my character didn't see it because it can become invisible in total darkness. But that failed to take into account the creature wouldn't be able to physically fit in that hut. Very true. Nightwalkers, I've used one against our party in a home game. They're fucking big. But I will continue. Suffice to say, me and Rogue both die and have our souls destroyed, and the DM ends the session. I ask the DM what exactly we were supposed to do to avoid death there. His response? Oh, it's all an illusion. There's, insert random item here, in the center of the city generating an illusion over the whole place. This illusion was not hinted at, in or out of character in any way. Our character had no way to know this was an illusion. This left me and Rogue more than a bit disgruntled, and I'd be lying if I said we didn't have a hand in the campaign ending. But yeah, rant over. And just before we get into the nitty gritty of discussing it, one of the comments says, but did you die? No, really, were your characters dead, or was the illusion making them somehow think that they had died? And another person's like, yeah, I'm a little confused by like, if it's all an illusion, did you actually die? Blah, blah, blah. And the OP responds and says all the quote unquote damage that we perceived as coming from the undead, necrotic, bludgeoning, whatever, was translated into the same amount of psychic damage. So yeah, dead, and no healers on standby.
So a couple of problems here, right? If it's just an illusion, right, then these bodak things, their abilities shouldn't work. Like they're looking at it, whatever abilities shouldn't work because it's an illusion. It's not real.
Yeah.
This Nightwalker shouldn't be, number one, and unless you're reflavoring it, shouldn't be able to fit in this little 15 by 15 thing. Definitely should have hinted more that there was some kind of a magic item or something. I know depending on party comp, it's hard to be like, oh, magic, detect magic or whatever, but still, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't like this whole hand waving of it's an illusion or whatever.
Yeah. This is another example of, I think, a DM just going power crazy with like railroading and just being like, this is how it must play out. And just like getting a little too mastermindery. Like I've been guilty of that, but it's usually because I know the players can revive themselves and stuff. So it's like,
right.
It's never, I never get too mastermindy when it comes to like trying to straight up kill the fucking players or, player characters.
Yeah, and like there's another way that you could do this is like if you are going to go this, it's a crazy illusion route or something like that, don't kill them. Yeah. Take them captive. There's a million things that you could do to not, if they lose this combat, to continue the story without just straight up killing half of your freaking table. I'm assuming this is a four-person party comp. Maybe it's just the two of them. I don't know what the table's like. But don't destroy the whole freaking game just because you wanted to have this really cool, it's all an illusion, it's all in your head. Don't do that.
Yeah.
That's just railroading somebody into the grave, and that's bullshit.
Yeah, so dumb. And it's like the DM, it wasn't even like the DM was doing it for the reveal, because it wasn't until the OP asked them, hey, how could we have not died there? And then the DM just goes, assuming that this is true, the DM just goes, oh, it's all an illusion. There's a magic item in the center of a city generating illusion over the whole place. That's a fucking powerful illusion, brother, because it is creating multiple monsters of high CR levels who are doing their normal abilities and attacks that they can do. So an illusion of a Nightwalker is powerful. That illusion is so powerful that when the illusion of a Nightwalker kills you, it actually does kill your soul, which is dumb. I agree with what you said before about the Bodax. Like,
Yeah,
the very idea that the
all
illusion,
those abilities,
it's just an illusion.
And that's a great way to hint at
the fact that
it's an illusion. Be like, oh yeah, you know, have them do a history check or something, some kind of way to recognize this monster. Mm-hmm. Like, oh yeah, so this thing should have an ability that, you know, freezes you in place or kills you if you look at it and fail a save. But you think for some reason that's not working right now. It doesn't have that ability. You've looked right at it and have not had to make a save yet.
Yeah, exactly. Not to mention, there's so much in D&D that deals with illusion. I mean, it's a whole school of magic.
Right.
I'm almost positive that like 90% of illusions, as soon as you hit them, your weapon goes through them. You immediately recognize that illusions are illusions just by touching them.
Yeah, it's a very specific subclass feature of a illusion wizard that allows you to make these things real.
Yeah. Or there's like
there is an ability like that.
Illusory dragon. But even that, I mean, there's a comment on here, obviously, of somebody talking about it. But like, according to the comment, it only does 7d6 breath weapon once per round.
Right.
That's some epic illusion magic going on there. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Insane.
Yeah, the whole thing is wild. DMs don't go on power trips with their players. That's supposed to be fun. This is not fun. this is not fun. Just TPKing your party for no reason. That's not fun.
Yeah, it feels weird. It
does.
Weird
The whole situation is odd. Yeah.
So interesting. Not to mention the part about the Night Walker being inside of a tiny hut. That would also piss me off. Because I mean, I've done that before. It sucks, but there are times when like you put a massive monster token on the map, and then you're like, oh, there are tiny doors. Oh no. Monsters are not going to be able to fit out. And like sometimes, I mean, squeezing into things exists in D&D. Like you can make checks for it and stuff, you know? But sometimes you're like, fuck, I put a huge spirit naga in this fucking dungeon chamber. Oh, it can't get out. So the players can just pepper it from the door. Oh no.
No.
And you know what I did? I just ate it. I just said, oh, okay, now I know.
Whoops. We'll get him next time, gang.
Yeah. Just fucking deal with it. Yeah. This is another one where it really, if I was a player, this would truly piss me off.
Yeah. I'd never be coming back to that table. They had every right to.
I would talk to the DM first, but like assuming our relationship was good, I would talk to the DM and be like, hey, dude, never do that again. Because you've taken away all of my agency. You just gave me an impossible problem. And then I started to solve that problem, which was all of these insanely powerful undead. And then you said, oh, actually, you could never have won that because a different thing that you never would have known about is actually going on. What? What the fuck?
There's a million. Like, what?
You have to give players hints.
They already had their hands full. Obviously, if they're running and looking for cover from these other undead things, they already had their hands full. There's no need to dump another monster. Not to mention, there's no need to break the rules to have another monster show up. Just because, I mean, like this just screams, I want to kill these players for no reason. Yeah,
I'm just trying to end the campaign.
Right.
In a dumb way, too. Like, this is just
in a dumb
stupid.
way, yeah.
This is really silly. Like,
yeah, I mean, just throw a Tarrasque at him and be done with it, man.
Throw 5 Tarrasques at him. You know what I mean?
Throw 5 Tarrasques. Yeah.
It's all an illusion.
Shit.
Who gives a shit? So it's just like,
right.
I just don't understand. So like when you're a DM and you're preparing these encounters, right? And sometimes you're trying to step outside the box. You're like, hey, I don't want every combat to just be, party attacks monster, monster attacks party. I get that. Because it can be insanely boring. After years and years of playing D&D, you just can't do it anymore, right? So you're trying to add all these dynamics. You're trying to add all these moving parts to make combat more interesting. You're watching Dimension 20. You're seeing what Brennan and Rick Perry are all fucking putting together and moving parts. And you're like, yeah, I want to do that. But you got to give clues.
You got to.
If you are so in your head, like this is the solution, this is the thing that the players need to figure out in order to overcome this, then you must give clues.
You have to.
Or
you have to.
Or if you're not so specific about how to, overcome the scenario, then you need to allow the players the room to come up with their own solutions and then honor them. You know, like I've heard that a million times. There's a lot of DMs out there who come up with an idea for a encounter and they don't have a specific way that the players are supposed to figure it out because they don't want to railroad.
Right.
So they're like, hey, here's this crazy fucking scenario, combat, fight, whatever. There's maybe 5 different ways you guys can go about it, you know?
Yeah.
And then that gives the player agency, which is good. Thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
This was crazy.
Here for it. Yeah.
This was crazy. But okay, there you go. That's
right.
number 3.
Let's
number
check
3. Out this next one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this one already sounds super problematic just from just the headline, right? We've all been there. We've all been here as dungeon masters in general. That player that contradicts everything. I already kind of have a feeling I'm going to side with the DM or whoever's running this thing. It looks like it's posted by a dungeon master, so I'm already kind of leaning towards their point of view. But let's get into the story and see if I'm, feeling right here. This is a bit of a long one here. So I've been running a group of my friends for the past 3 years. It used to be me, another girl, and 2 guys, but recently the group has decreased to only me and 2 guys. They're the first group I've DM'd and the only one I've been able to do so frequently. But I think recently I figured out how miserable it is to play with them. Honestly, fair.
Yeah. When it starts to get
a
to
girl
that point.
DMing for 2 dudes. Oh boy. Yeah, I can see this is already off to a horrible start. We had a session earlier this week and we hadn't played in a long time. After many last-minute cancellations or no responses at all, we scheduled a game and met up. I'll refer to them as Player A and Player B. Player A doesn't take anything seriously. Everything is a joke, and there aren't any consequences. Ugh. Player B probably finds pleasure in making the DM annoyed for no reason. Double ugh. Player B doesn't know the rules and hasn't read the rule book, but still contests me every time I explain a rule. And in an instance, which I found really insulting, was when I said Rogue needs to either use an action or a cunning action to hide, and he told me, no, they don't. My friend who knows everything about D&D doesn't do it like that.
Shut the fuck up.
Gross.
Shut the fuck up. Actually,
yeah, shut the fuck up. Yeah, the goober I can take at the table. Like as long as they're just being what have you. I teach them pretty quickly that their actions do have consequences. But other than that, do your little goober thing. Do your little chaos goblin shenanigans. I'm cool with it. Just understand. Yeah. It's fun. It's
at some tables, that's great. Yeah.
Right.
And not knowing, let's be clear, not knowing the rules is also fine.
Also fine.
Asking questions, asking for clarification. Sometimes contesting certain things where you're like, oh, that's not my understanding of the rule. Like that's all fine. Like as long as there's respect, mutual respect and everything, that's
exactly
fine. But when you're like, no, my friend who knows everything doesn't do it. What are you doing?
Yeah. Then go play at his table.
Yeah.
It's just, ugh. Okay. So anyway, getting back to the story. Also, every time this player's turn starts, they ask me, is it the D20 to attack? Yes. Of course it is. That's Taylor saying, yes, it's been the same thing this whole time.
I know, 3 years.
And I also have to list every single modifier and explain what advantage is again. Reminder, he's been playing for 3 years and I explain this every time he attacks. And then, after asking me if he needs to use an action to move, he starts arguing with me that his speed and dex should be higher. When I ask him why, he says, I remember having an ability that makes it higher. I ask him what ability it is, and he says he doesn't know. I literally have no idea what he's talking about, but he made multiple snarky remarks about how his speed should be higher. It's like this all the time with this player. If they're not playing a monk or a barbarian, it doesn't exist. I think it's very rare instances and maybe some other classes, but really and honestly, monks and barbarians are one of the only ones that get abilities that increase their movement.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
I really can't think of any
there might be
instance.
Like a random subclass or something, but
right.
I think you're right. Monks and barbarians. Yeah, I think that's it. Without using a magic item or something, like
yeah,
something,
absolutely,
but,
but
right.
There's no abilities or whatever. And also, if it's not written down on your character sheet, you ain't got it there, son. That doesn't mean just go scribble, write all the abilities that you want on your character sheet. That's not how that works. But I mean, really and honestly,
keep track of your
if
character.
you've been playing for 3 years, keep track of your own goddamn shit.
Yeah. At a certain point,
the DM has enough
you have to take some
stuff on their
responsibility.
plate. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like as much as this is a game and we're all playing it for fun and laughs most of the time, right? With the exception of like content creation, maybe. But like it's all for fun and like we're having a good time and stuff like that. But there's also like a certain level of like we're all fucking adults.
Yeah.
Act like one.
Yeah.
Like this is why there's so often forever DMs and like this idea of like the DM versus the player and stuff is because scenarios like this can sometimes happen where unfortunately there are players every once in a while who significantly underappreciate the amount of work that a DM has to put into things.
Yeah.
And this seems like one of those. If this is like just a player who shows up and is like, you should know my character. You're the DM. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, dog. Right.
It sounds like both of the, although I'm only hearing gripes about player B. Player A, honestly.
Yeah, just a goofy guy.
It's just a goofy guy. Just a goofy guy. But player B, honestly, you've been doing this for how long and you still need the whole thing explained to you? Either you're just you don't care enough to learn, or you're just a bad person and just trying to cause problems. There's also times when he isn't paying attention to what I said and then he starts arguing about it. Like when he told me his dex mod is +7. No, it's not. I told him that it isn't, and his stealth mod is +7 and his dex is +3. That makes more sense. Then he rolls and adds +7 to the attack roll, and I tell him he's wrong, and he says, but you just told me it's +7.
I would punch this person in the throat.
Yeah.
Throat punch immediately.
Yeah.
My verdict, throat punch. I'm done with this person. Player B can go take a fucking hike. I hate him.
Also never used... Yeah, he'd also never used any halfling ability, even though he's a halfling, because he obviously hasn't read his character sheet. Yeah. And the times he asked me to do something in combat, like blind an enemy or distract them with an arrow to open them. I know these things sound creative and fun, but when you're one person trying to balance an encounter in real time while controlling multiple different creatures, it's very hard to come up with things like that. So I told them that if it isn't in their character sheet or the base rules, they can't do it. My words went unheard, though, because he kept asking. So, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Those mechanics don't exist in D&D 5th edition, and you don't have to allow them.
Yeah. Called shots are confusing because, like, we've all seen movies and TV shows and different media and read books, so it's like it's so easy to be like, I want to shoot them in the eye with my arrow. I want to shoot them in their Achilles heel. I want to do this. Like, I get it.
Right.
It's just a tricky thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in the way that they kind of explain it in the rule book is your player is always trying to go for the most optimal hit, regardless. And that's just kind of what it is. You know, there's not, unless your character sheet says something to that effect, which with 2024, there are a lot of fun things that you can do with the weapons that you've got, provided you have mastery and all this other stuff. But there are a lot of cool out of the box things that you can do. It's just, there are rules for that. And you need to abide by the rules. Otherwise, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
You just want to make up your own game system. It just opens up a can of worms. Go write a book. Yeah.
Yeah, because if the players can do it, then so can the monsters. And you know that
they're
fucking 30 archers are coming your way and they're shooting you in the eyeballs. And it's like, that's not fun. That's stupid.
All right. The last little bit of this story. I don't have a lot to say about player A. They go into dangerous situations that I tell them it's dangerous. And when they suffer the consequences, they complain that it wasn't balanced. That's the thing I was worried about with this player. Other than that, they're all right. And I don't have a problem with playing with them. That's honestly, okay. Yeah. They're,
that's an annoying thing after doing it a ton of times.
Right.
I think that's the issue here is that these are behaviors that are being repeated over and over again, despite having communication about it. It seems like the DM is airing their grievances, not just on this Reddit post, but it sounds like they're talking to the players. They're saying, hey, this is annoying. No, that's not what your fucking stat is. Yes, that's what the fucking D20 is for. All this stuff. Right. And the players just keep doing it anyway. And what happens is the DM is going to build resentment over time, over and over and over again, until they're like, actually, it was an illusion, and you fucking dead. Actually, Actually, you idiots, there's a magic item in the middle of town. Duh.
Yeah, duh.
True sight goggles, idiots.
Get wrecked, nerd.
Fucking wrecked.
Yeah, so the last little bit, but what really broke it for me is when we were going to play this week with these people that I consider friends, I had something serious come up about family and I was really upset. Before starting the session, they were joking around as they do, and I told them I wasn't feeling the best to run the session, and I told them the reason. They dismissed it and went back to joking. At that moment, I just thought to myself, why did I get myself into this? Yeah, honestly, at this point, I'm with you. Why don't do it anymore?
Yeah.
And at this point,
those aren't even friends.
I hate to say it, you've already been relegated to the forever DM for people that, from what I can tell, don't even really want to play the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they just want to be able to do whatever sandboxy crap that they want to do. Go play Skyrim. Go play Baldur's Gate. Go do literally anything else than try to tell a story with other people. If you're not going to pay attention to the rules and you're not going to listen when they get explained over and over and over and over again, then just don't play the game anymore.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's a lot of,
and I hate to be so dismissal. Like it seems like every time we come up with this is like just don't play anymore, and it sucks for people that like this is their only opportunity to play.
I know,
and my heart breaks for you. But at this point, if it's not fun, if it doesn't spark joy, get it out of your life.
Yeah,
you know,
D&D is a time
I'm
commitment,
freaking 34. Yeah, I'm 34. I ain't got time for this shit.
Yeah,
it's not something that I really enjoy doing. I'm not gonna do it.
Honestly, yeah, it really is. Like, it's sad. It's sad.
It is sad.
The OP is not alone. There are tons of both DMs and players who stick it out because they don't feel like they have any other options, and they're like, "This is the one game that's consistent." Especially when if the scheduling is consistent. Oof, that's hard to beat. But
it is.
Once you start feeling miserable and you're telling them, hey, I have something really personal and intense going on with my family, and they're like, whatever, nerd. Not that they said that necessarily, but like eventually, you gotta just you just gotta
be done. You just gotta be done.
Yourself
and it's tough. It's tough to do that, especially as an adult where it's already hard to make friends like outside of, you know, wherever you're at.
Mm-hmm.
I know I have trouble with finding long-term friendships like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, unless it's somebody that you kind of like. There are a handful of people like I get, you know, jammed with random people at work, but those are always just work friends. It's hard. It's hard to cut off ties with people that you see on your free time. But boy golly, they just don't care about you, and they're not real friends, and you need to just let it go. Let it go.
Yeah.
We're going to get demonetized by Disney now.
I'll try not to. But I agree. No. It sucks. I feel bad for this person.
It sucks. But there are a lot of resources for finding new games. What is like
startplaying.com is one source that you can both post games. Like if you're the DM, you can even make a little extra money. Not only will you meet some people, but you can make some money. People can pay you to DM. Talk about people who are going to take the fucking game seriously.
Right,
you know?
Exactly.
And then if
nobody takes the game more seriously than people that have paid to play.
Yeah, put your money where your mouth is. And there's also a million different, like, you know, there's so many D&D and tabletop role-playing game content creators out there, and a lot of them, including us, have Discord channels. The Discord channels are a great way to just meet other like-minded people who are like obviously share a certain value or community with you because they also are into this particular content creator or whatever, you know? And then a lot of those will have looking for game channels on their server, or like it's just a good way to meet people. Sometimes there's like even like something as silly as like a casting call for like a random project or something like that. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. Like other than our home group, which I met because I met one or two of the players at my previous job. Like it was so random. Like it was just like a customer at the job that I worked at started talking about D&D, and that's how it happened. And it was just boom, now we're playing. And then we started playing virtually, and then I met Taylor and Allie and all of our other friends and stuff. And then everybody else has been like fellow content creators. So it's just been like, we follow each other on TikTok. I comment on their things, they comment on my things, and then one day I send them a message and I say, hey, do you want to play D&D? And often they say yes.
Yeah.
Scheduling's a nightmare.
And then we try to actually schedule the game, and oh boy.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a month. Like a month or two of trying to get the schedule to right.
And then you get somebody drop
and
out
that's
at
because
the last second, and then tech difficulties. And
yeah, sometimes I'm stupid with the scheduling, and I find the group first, and then I try and find the schedule. And sometimes I think it would be easier to find the schedule first and then the group. But
yeah,
what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? I agree. So what do you think? One more each, or we hitting that point?
I don't know. I think let's just do one more.
Let's do one more in general. All right, let's do it.
Oh boy, this one is titled "You Used to Have a Husband."
Rough.
Yeah, really rough.
Oh wow, this
one's rough.
Ooh, boy. Ooh.
Yeah, and consider that there were other ones that I didn't feel comfortable putting.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
OP writes, my wife and I are getting a divorce. I don't want a divorce. I desperately want to try and work things out, but it's not just up to me. True. I'm in a bad place right now. She can tell, so she encouraged me to continue going to D&D because she knows how much it means to me. I was reassured that we're all friends and that no one is taking sides. Oh boy. 3 days after she broke the news to me, her best friend shelved her old character that she had been playing for years to introduce a new one. The character introduced himself, her first time role-playing a male character, to the campaign by taunting my former wife's character with the words, "You used to have a husband." For context, my former wife's character had a fiancé who died in combat shortly before the campaign began. I blinked.
Gross.
I turned to look at my former wife. In character, I asked when her character had a husband. Fiancé, husband, same thing, her friend said. I started to explain that they're related, but not the same thing. She said she just misspoke. I couldn't hold it back anymore. I left the room to cry in the hallway. Tried to be as quiet as I could, but I let some sobs escape. They continued to play without me until they needed me to roll for initiative. Brutal. After the game, I told my former wife that I don't think I will be attending the next session. She says that's ridiculous. She said she talked to her friend after the game. She says her friend and the DM had been planning that character for months. The timing was purely coincidental, and she merely misspoke.
Bullshit.
It feels a little
Sorry.
bit.
Yeah.
I was a founding member of this campaign. I've played this character for years, so many days, so many hours. I don't think I can do it anymore. I feel like I'm losing my wife, my passion, everything.
Oh, my heart breaks for you. And the friend is the asshole here. No way in hell has this. The character may have been planning for months, but I'm going to tell you right now, your wife's been planning this divorce for months, and it's all because of that friend.
Well, maybe not all because of that friend.
Maybe not because of that friend, but the friend. The friend has been egging it on. I can almost guarantee it.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of just like, interesting things.
Yeah,
we all know that like the dynamics at a table amongst the players and the DM and everybody is already like can be complicated because there's already like a power dynamic between the DM and the players. There's potential background things like relationships that can get tricky. You know. You have two players who are dating. Like take marriage off the board. Just two players who are dating and then they break up and then so many complicated things happen. Depending on your D&D game, sometimes emotions run high. Sometimes it's one of those games that is like a more critical role style where it's like it can get really in depth emotionally. You know, like characters are dying, families are being torn apart, like really, really intense. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so naturally, you're already in this insanely vulnerable space 3 days after she broke the news to me. Like, so this is happening right after. So yeah, I do agree that the best friend is a bit of a jerk to like, you couldn't sit on this for another day or two, you know?
Yeah.
To start with you used to have a husband thing. But I also do think that there's probably aspects, I'm speculating. This is, right. We're not professionals. in this like psychology department. But like, there's a part of me that thinks maybe the husband, it's so fresh, the wound, if you will, that the best friend could have done a ton of things, and the husband was going to react that way, where it was like, it's so fresh that you're like that thing where sometimes you experience like a loss in your life, whether it's a loved one or even just like a relationship ends in some way, and you start to like see them places, and like just randomly you're like, that was our favorite song, and it's just like things just pop up, and it's that like the brain way of like finding patterns and this stupid evolution. And like, so maybe it's that, maybe it's this. I think when you have couples at a D&D table, you need to be prepared for the potential of it to get crazy.
I think it's wild, the divorce thing. Like I was saying before, maybe this is my own history, just kind of getting projected onto all of this, but divorces don't come out of nowhere. They don't just happen unless something happens, unless it's like infidelity or getting caught cheating or something like that, or, what have you. There's a million things that could happen that would make it like an instantaneous, oh, we're done. It doesn't sound like this is the case. They've been working on, the OP is saying that he's trying to work things out, and it's not, it's been something that's been in the works forever. You're not going to tell me that the best friend and the wife have not been talking about this for months. You're not going to tell me that this character that she just randomly came up with months ago had nothing to do with this whole situation. I'm sorry. I really don't like this friend.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because we don't know the reason for the divorce. Like, for all we know, the divorce is 100% the husband's fault. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying it could be.
That's very true.
So maybe the best friend is just being a friend and being like, I'm sticking up for my girl. I'm fucking fuck this guy.
Right.
Like, and not to mention the best friend could be getting, let's call it, biased information from the wife. So there's so many complicated relationship dynamics going on here that it just gets so tricky. And so it's like, just really, really complicated. I think the husband was a bit naive to think, I was reassured that we're all friends and no one's taking sides. Brother, how old are you? Come on, man.
Yeah, really.
Like, people are taking sides, my dude.
Yeah, there's no way to not in this kind of situation. It's wild to me that you're all still playing at the same table.
Yeah.
That is crazy to me.
That's the thing. I mean, like, this prompt that we're reading here from Reddit, it's starting to dip into like the subreddit, like relationship advice. Because part of the advice, there isn't a ton of advice on D&D that I need to give here. It's more like constructing your table or like friends and stuff and relationships, where it's just like, how are you going to get closure, my man?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't. People are still friends. My parents are divorced and they're still, really good friends. But
no, but it's tough. But but I guarantee you there was a point where they weren't really good friends. There was a period of time where it's impossible to, with the depth of a relationship like that, it's impossible to not have emotions take over at a certain point.
Naturally.
And just be mad about it.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. So it's like, yeah.
This is a tough one.
This is a tough one. I wish you guys the best. I hope that, things work out and you can find a new table with a new group, or maybe the people that took your side, assuming that the whole divorce wasn't your fault. Sorry, OP, I don't know you. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
It is my inclination to blame the men. That is just not even, it does. I mean, it says husband. So yeah, we can kind of assume that they are at the very least male identifying, but that is my go-to. Like, push comes to shove, if I don't know anything about the couple, my inclination is to be like, probably the guy's fault. But that's just because of a huge history of guys being terrible. But like, we don't know. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on. So it's hard to speculate too much.
Yeah.
But Yeah, it does seem a little silly. It does seem like they are being a little dismissive. I didn't love the part of you going out into the hallway and crying, and they just came and got you when they needed you to roll initiative. That's so fucked.
Yeah,
that's
so beyond. Fucked. That's a whole nother level. Hey, I know you're having a fucking meltdown out here, but like we're waiting on you to roll initiative. It's your turn. Like that's like coming up. Hey, it's your turn. What are you doing? Come out here.
Yeah, seriously.
Suck it up and take your attacks.
That's insane, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Absolutely wild.
Wow. I mean,
oh man.
If I had a piece of advice, because I don't have a ton of advice, right? It's all just like speculative. We're just kind of making assumptions because as is true for most Reddit stories, you're getting so much bias from the fact that you're only hearing one side of the story and it's what they choose to tell us and all this kind of stuff. But I think this advice that I have will help you, OP. And that's to go out and buy a 6-pack of Fresca, America's #1 grapefruit beverage. Let the cold
all right. No, that's all we can get into this time. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Soyouwannabeadm, or you can ask us a question at soyouwannabeadm@gmail.com. If you like the episode, don't forget to give us 5 stars in your review wherever you found us, and check out the Patreon and the Twitch pages with the link in the description. Join us next time for more Dungeon Master tips and tricks.
Bye!
See.
And now, I get to shout out the members of our Patreon gang. Nub Muffins, may Paylord's light shine upon you. And then there's Tappy, Molly, and Elijah. Thank you all so much for being members of our Patreon gang. Remember, you can find the link to that in the description of the episode. And also remember this. We love you. Thanks again, and tune in next time for more tips and tricks from So You Wanna Be a DM.